Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to continue on with painting my Germans for 1/48 tactic. It's a miniatures game in 1/48 scale. And the model we're painting today is Dietrich Meyer. And as you can see, he's wearing a white smock for the winter camouflage because he's fighting in and around Bastogne. This is the model, and so I'm using Folk Art Steel Gray as the basis. I'm using Steel Gray as the undercoat, the basing of the white. So we're going to go ahead and paint his smock white. Now it's okay if you get it on the equipment or his pants, because you're going to come back later and paint those up a different color. Okay, now I understand the jacket should be white, but this is a base coat of gray that's going to go under. It's an undercoat for the white, because I'm only going to highlight with white. White is only going to be a highlight color after I wash it. You'll see the effect. Yeah, it looks like the hood is also white. Now, you can paint these models any color you want. The color isn't really that important. I'm just trying to match the picture on the card, so when we're playing, it'll make it easier to identify who is who. They'll be able to say, oh, look at that guy. He's Dietrich Meyer. We can tell because he's wearing that white smock. Winter clothing, winter camouflage. Oh, wait, I didn't get the whole backside. Alright, so we got the light gray on there. Well, not everywhere. Let's... Now you might notice that I've already done the flesh. I do my flesh standard. I put like a light flesh tone, I wash with flesh wash, then I go back over with a mid flesh tone. Alright, so he's ready to move on. Alright, now the next color we're going to use is Vallejo's German Gray. We're going to paint that on the helmet of Dietrich Meyer. Let's go ahead and pull him out. It's almost black, but not black. It's gray, but it's super dark. All right. And that's it. That's the only color that goes on the helmet. All right, now the next color we're using is the German camouflage black brown. It's an extremely dark brown color, almost mahogany. It's for the German combat boot. The German combat boots are brown and they're not black. So don't, late war Germans didn't have black boots. And the 26 Volksgrenadiers at Bastogne, that's a late war situation. So these should all be brown. And you can kind of tell that they're not jack boots because they don't go all the way up to the knees, and they do have like these little strap gaiter things. When they have that, you know they're the German combat boot, and the German combat boot is brown. Okay, so the top half of those boots are going to be painted a lighter brown color, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. All right, so we're moving on to wood brown. We're going to paint his rifle, his canteen cover, and his entrenching tool handle. So we'll start with the entrenching tool handle. His canteen cover, not the cup, just the lower part of his canteen cover. And of course, the rifle. It's okay if you paint more like the barrel or any of the metal parts because we haven't painted those yet. I'm going to come back later and paint the metal. Alright, so we got the rifle, the canteen cover, and his entrenching tool handle. Alright, we're going to send him off to the side, let him dry for a little bit. Alright, the next color we're going to use on Dietrich here is the German camouflage beige, and we're going to paint that on his gaiters, the tops of his combat boots, below his trousers, because those trousers are bloused into those gaiters. Above the dark brown, we're also going to paint his haversack this color. Okay, haversack and gaiters. All right, we're going to set that off to the side, and then we'll be back for the next few colors. All right, the next color we're going to use is Polyes's black green. Okay, we're going to use this black green on his metallic gear on his back, like his canteen cover. Or not his canteen cover, his gas mask canister. Gas mask canister. Wow, gotta say that 3 times fast. His canteen cup, top of his canteen, obviously, and his mess kit. Okay, so those 3 things. Set him off to the side, let him dry. All right, the next color is Licorice Black. and we're going to paint that onto his weapon. So any metal parts on his weapon, we're going to, like basically the top barrel portion of his rifle. And also the solid barrel on the end, of course. And his trenching tool. Cover, really, it's a leather cover, but it's going to be black, as well as the pouches for his rifle in the front. Yep, that's it. All right, so we're going to let that guy dry for a minute, and then we'll be back with the next color. All right, the next color we're going to use is Natural Steel. What I'm using it for is the weapon barrel. And we're just going to draw a line from the top. See that? And both sides of the barrel exposed in the front. And that's it. All right, now the next step is I'm going to apply a wash. I'm using light tone. I'm mixed 2 drops light tone, 1 drop water. And what we're going to do is we're just going to slather it on so it's over the entire model. What it'll do is it'll bring out details and, you know, folds in the fabric, and buckles and straps will all of a sudden just show up out of nowhere. And it'll pockets. Okay, I just see some pockets showing up, and it'll just make the model look much better. Okay, so we're going to set that off to the side, and we're going to let that dry, and once it dries, we'll be back. All right, so it's the next day. The wash has dried, and you can see that it's brought all the details out, and it's highlighted various things like the little straps right there on the haversack. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on this smock right here. We're going to bring it down to white, but instead of using like a pure white, instead of using like a pure white on this figure, that'll make it look fantasy, or it'll make it look like as if he was a Napoleonic figure or something like that. And what we're trying to do is make him look like a World War II winter smock. So I'm using light gray on his smock. Now what we're going to do is we're going to touch any of the raised areas or any of the stretched fabric. So if you see something that is super smooth, it's probably like over his shoulder, around his knees, or his elbows. If you see any low areas in the creases of the folds, you don't want to paint inside the fold. Okay, you want to leave that. That's where you want the shadow to be, or the wash. Now in this case, some of the black, when I painted, went onto the jacket. This is a perfect time to correct that. All right. Okay, the stretchy elbow fabric. Okay, let's do that. The cuffs have kind of their own little piece of fabric. We're just going to paint that straight away on both cuffs. just to knock out the cuff. Also, I noticed along the bottom of this jacket there is a cuff, like a seam at the very bottom. Okay, so we're going to paint that seam straight away. Give it a little definition. This looks like it might be a pocket. It's stretched, so we're going to paint it, and then to the side of the pocket, it looks like that's where the seam of the fabric is. So we don't paint the seam of the fabric, but we do paint under the canteen. Okay. Under the sleeve, there's kind of a fold in the fabric right there, and another fold right there. Notice how there's like a little bit of a shadow. Left over from the dark gray and the wash. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to see quite a few little cuts of fabric, because that's where we don't paint, right? Okay. Let's look at that other sleeve. Okay. Boy, that sleeve's got a lot of little cuts. Okay. Shoulder. Trying to avoid any seams in the fabric, like where the sleeve would be stitched. That's a good place to not paint. Now over the shoulder along the back. Oh, it looks kind of tight in here, so it's okay to do one large paint. And then his hood has kind of like two folds. Paint them leaving the fold line in the middle. Whoa, okay, hold on. Yep. Okay. Now this is a tedious process, as you can well imagine. But it will pay off in the end. It'll pay off in spades. Okay, so now I hit, nope, I thought I hit everything. But that's a good sign. If you think you hit everything, then your wash and undercoat has done its job. Okay, so he's coated, but I don't like the way some of these streaks are showing up. So I'm just gonna do a slightly second layer over anything that I think looks kind of iffy. Like right there. There we go. That looks good. You want this hood to look good because it's an eye grabber. Believe it or not, this little hood will attract many eyes to this on this model. So you want it to look good. Sometimes the fold is just too bold. Hey, I rhymed. So you want to tone the fold down a little bit just by widening the white. Okay, so now as you can see, that looks white, right? But it's really truly not white. It's actually light gray, and then it's got a darker gray and a wash under it. Doesn't that look good? That looks really, really good. It looks very wintry. All right, I'm going to set him off to the side, let him dry, and then we'll be back with the next color. All right, now the next color we're going to paint on Dietrich is the German camouflage orange ochre. Now, the only thing I'm painting with this is the sling. So we got to locate his sling, which he's gripped under the rifle, and it kind of lays along his trigger finger over here. Kind of like that. I don't know if you can see that, but there you go. And we got to make sure we hit it from the other side so that got complete coverage of that sling. All right, that's his sling. Now we're going to set him off to the side, let him dry, and we'll be right back. All right, the final color we're going to use on Dietrich here is the Tamiya Field Gray. And we're only painting the edge of his base. You could leave it the primer if you wanted, but I've noticed that on some of my models, the wash sometimes gets on the edge, and it's better just to clean it up with a even tone all the way around. All right, so we're going to set that guy off to the side, and we're going to let him dry. All right, now the next step is to apply texture to the base. What I'm going to use is pure Elmer's glue here. I'm using my Tester's brush. I'm going to get paint, or I should say glue, all over the base. I want to see white everywhere. apply it liberally. You want it to be kind of thick. Not so thick that it'll never dry. Get it around the boots, behind the boots, all the way to the edge of the base. There we go. Oh, wait. Got to get it in front of that boot. Now we're just going to drop a couple of stones. Not a whole lot. And then we're going to use the texture right here. I used extremely fine ballast, and I used like a medium talus. Okay, and we're going to let that sit and soak into the glue. I usually put them in a box where they can dry. All right, now the next step is applying the Battlefield Grass Green from Army Painter on top of the talus and ballast that we already placed on this model. Now we're going to use Elmer's glue once again using a synthetic brush. I pat it down onto or into the stone. I don't brush it on, I pat it down. Because if you brush, you might actually remove some of the stone. You don't want to do that. If there are any larger stones that you sprinkle on, you don't want to put any glue on top of them. You don't want to disguise the fact that you put some stones on there. You want to cover about 2/3 of the base. And you just put it on in random patterns. No rhyme or reason. And remember, you're trying to cover about 2/3 of the base. If you see any exposed areas, like where the talus didn't stick or there wasn't enough glue for the talus to stick, go ahead and put some grass there. That way you just cover any imperfections. Yeah, I think that's good. And then what we do is we just sprinkle this on like rain or snow, letting it stick to the glue, but we do cover the entire base with the grass, and we do not shake it off. We set the model down with the full mound of grass, and we give it about 30 minutes, allowing it to soak down into the glue. All right, and here is Dietrich with his white smock and its flocked base. All right, now here is all 7. You got your 4 starters and then the 3 expansion guys. So tell me what you think about the way I painted these guys, and in the comments below. And be sure to also go back and check out my 101st Paratrooper painting videos as well. If you like these videos, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel and continue on watching, because we're going to paint some of the terrain next. All right, and I'll catch you next time.